Hi, everyone. We are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 3-episode series with Tina Wankey, the founder of Roots of Healing. Tina began her career as a mental health therapist, eventually expanding into integrative modalities that support the whole person, including psychotherapy, wellness coaching, hypnotherapy, sound healing, and much more. She is most passionate about helping women who feel burned out, disconnected, or weighed down emotionally return to clarity, confidence, and embodiment. Outside of her work, Tina enjoys early morning workouts, being in nature, traveling, and spending time with her family. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We are in episode 3 with Tina. Tina, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
It's been so great. We've had 2 great conversations so far. In our first episode together, we really talked about identity within motherhood and how we really feel like we lose who we are. You had some great explanations in there. I feel like it was a really encouraging episode that also helped us to kind of walk away being like, okay, I can do this. And it's okay that things shift in motherhood. But our second episode was more of a direct topic. So we talked about sound medicine in that one, and we are going to be pulling some concepts that we discussed in that episode into this one. So for those of you listening, if you have not listened to episode 2 specifically yet, I would go back and listen to that one first, because it's going to kind of have some underlying sciencey understanding as we're heading into this next episode. But for this last one with you, we're going to be talking about the ripple effect of if mom is calm, it kind of seems like the rest of the house is calm. And if mom is cranky, it kind of seems
Mhm.
like the rest of the house gets cranky pretty easily.
Yes.
So, okay, let's just start with, how is that possible? Because I've used this term thermostat. I'm like, moms, I
Yeah.
feel like I am the thermostat of our house in the past, but now you're like bringing some science into it. So
Mhm.
what's happening here?
Yeah. It goes back into that idea of energy and frequency and what everything vibrates at some type of frequency. Everything vibrates, whether it's a low frequency or a high frequency. Lower energy tends to vibrate at a very low hertz, where more positive, uplifting vibrates at a faster hertz. And when in the house, you have different people, there's different humans, there's different animals, there are different objects that are in the house, and everything vibrates at a different frequency, holds things. Even objects in the house can hold memory. So if you pick up an object, kind of like a crystal, crystals vibrate with frequencies. Everything vibrates with frequencies. And sometimes there's objects where it's just like, I don't know, I just don't like this. Like, I don't like this. It feels funky. Even at the sense of just a simple thing as it might be, I'll say a doll, because those can get kind of creepy. And there might be something about it, whatever it may be. Yeah. So if you just think about, everything vibrates, everything has vibrations, which emits a frequency, which impacts the people and the places around us. When you're in a home environment, like parents, kids, there's a lot of energy that is happening in that house, and there's a lot of vibration happening. And with mom, this is my thoughts with mom, because if we're carrying the baby, especially, we are in tune with those kids because we've been carrying them, creating them, and birthing them. So there's a different energetic level that happens with the kids that we actually carry. And I think that's why there can be such a strong sense with our kids where we're at can impact the kids. Now, if you're a family where you have adopted kids, I still feel like there can be a strong bond there that has the same influence. It just depends on, the people. But I know when my daughter, so that first year when my husband was in Iraq and she was that infant, I remember a night where I was just like, I need to get some sleep. Like I had to work the next day, and I was working an hour and 10 minutes away. So I was not close to home. I was just like tired, and she was crying, and I could not figure out what was wrong. And I started to feel like I was just like starting to get frustrated, and I could feel like my energy shifting. I'm just like, because I was so tired, and it was like that tired kind of, like, I just want to go to sleep. I just want
Yeah.
some sleep. But I needed to figure out what was going on with her. Well, what I noticed is, as I started feeling that, like, tired frustration, her crying got worse and worse. So then I'm like, okay, I need to calm down. So I did some deep breaths and I started calming down, and literally her crying came down too at the same time. And I'm like, there is something to this. So that was like my own first experience in really realizing and recognizing how much there can be an impact. And kids are extra sensitive. We teach them not to be sensitive. We tell them to stuff down their emotions, go to your room, stop crying about it. Like we disconnect them from experiencing their emotions and being able to express their emotions. So kids pick up that stuff a lot easily, more readily than we do as adults. And then, but some of us keep it, which is good. Then we can relearn to get connected to it. But when mom's energy is off, it's tired, she's exhausted, then that energy can vibrate through the household and other people feel it. Just like when you walk into a room, or you have a conversation with someone. I mean, you feel an energy difference when you're talking to someone who's depressed versus someone who's super happy.
Mhm.
Like there is a completely different vibe and feel that's happening in that space.
I feel like I'm having multiple thoughts go through my head as you're talking here because moms carry a lot of load, and I think especially in our society, there's this pressure to also work. There's the pressure to still be the homemaker, right? And you're still in charge of the kids and the dinner. And obviously, dads are helping with some of the stuff too. Like maybe dad makes dinner, but still, it's like there's home stuff to do, tasks wise. There's kids stuff to do. There's mom stuff to do. Darn it. Once in a while, I just want to be a hot mess and
Yeah.
have other people lift me up. So like there's pieces of it almost feels like extra pressure and almost feels like extra stress to have it all together. So what would you say to that?
Well, first, I will say sometimes we just need to let it out, like in a sense of just like sometimes we just need to release all the pent up responsibilities. So sometimes we just might feel overloaded and we just might need to just either verbally let it out or like sometimes we need, and you got to temper this as to where you live, scream it out where you just need to release that energy and let it go. And you might have to find a different way than screaming because otherwise the neighbor is calling the police and that's not a good situation. Just like, oh, just letting it out. That's all, officer.
Boy.
But yes, I mean, we have that pressure is there to balance everything. And there's also, it's almost like just an expectation that everybody thinks we can do it, which is great that people think that we can handle it all. But reality is we got to take care of ourselves too. So if we're feeling like that energy is getting pent up and it's building up and we're feeling like we're getting overloaded, then we definitely need to check in and do an assessment like, how are the kids acting? How are they reacting to me? And seeing
Right.
where things are at.
Well, and I also think like, okay, so if I'm supposed to put myself first, if I'm supposed to take care of myself, what would you recommend with that first step? Because I feel like when somebody says, just you have to put yourself first, a mom might be like, what, do I abandon the kids because I'm the one taking care of them? Right. So what would be some good steps to just kind of get that load off and closer to being more calm
Yeah,
more often?
right. Yeah. Yeah, because we can't there's a responsibility we do have. We can't just say, "Sorry, kids, like, get yourself to school," even though, like, you
I'm
can't
putting
walk
myself
there by yourself
first.
'cause
I'm
you're too
first
young.
here. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not the case. A
yeah.
lot of people are all or nothing. So like what's your middle ground here, Tina? How would you help them?
Yeah, so the middle ground is looking at, like, literally mapping, okay, what are the responsibilities that I have? What does my day look like? And where are there spots that I can incorporate some time for me? And this can be even times where you're just taking 5 minutes to just reassess and reground yourself and get yourself replanted into a good spot. And that can just be, deep breathing. I mean, breathing, it is amazing what just breathing can do to calm our nervous system, to get it to understand that it is okay to relax and not to feel like we're on edge all the time and always going, going, going. So definitely, just assessing, okay, where am I at? What do I need? When can I get time in? And just little pockets to start with it. It doesn't have to be like a whole hour or 2 hours. Like if you can just start with just small times within the day that you can just take some time to do some self-care, such as that deep breathing. And there can be different things that someone might want to add into that, like aromatherapy, like doing some deep breathing with like some lavender that can help calm, or maybe some earthy scents that are more grounding. As we have nice weather, there's grass. If you can get out in the dewy grass in the morning and bare feet, that helps you ground. If you are fortunate enough to live next to the ocean,
Mm,
go walk out in the water because that's very grounding with the salt water. So there's, simple things that can be done depending on the person and what they enjoy and what they want to incorporate.
I would also add, like, asking for help too, knowing that you don't
Yes.
have to do it all by yourself,
No,
right?
no.
So, I don't know. That's one thing, like you said in your first episode, that's one thing you regret is not asking for more help or being
Yeah.
open to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's dropping the guilt. There is
Yeah.
I feel like so many moms have guilt if they try to do something that's going to be good for them or asking for that help. They feel like there's guilt. I had someone who's just like admitted that they were burned out. And they're like, I just admitted my weakness. And I'm like, that is not a weakness. That is
Yeah.
being a strength, like saying, hey, I need some help here. I need to do something. That is not a weakness by any means. That is a strength because we need to
Yeah.
be able to also mirror that to our kids. Because if we're showing our kids that if you're a mom, or even if you're not the mom, you're the caretaker in the house, you're the one responsible for, taking care of kids or cooking, whatever your role is in that sense. Like if we're telling them that you got to push, 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 push. And in order to take care of people, that means you're crabby and you're cranky all the time and you're never happy. Like that is not setting a good example for our kids. We're not telling them and showing them how there needs to be self care in their lives and take care of themselves as they get older.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that because I feel like now that my kids are a little bit older and they really only would have to be 2 to be able to do this, but I try to communicate with them when I can feel that I am amped up and it's not even their fault. Like maybe something happened with work and I'm just stressed about it and it's just on my mind and so I'm snappy because this thing is on my mind. Or maybe I have some low back pain today and it's just nagging and it's just bothering me. And it's like sometimes I will just be like, hey kids, I am a little cranky today and it's because my back hurts. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. So if you could just give me a little bit extra space today, or if you want to be noisy, if you can go outside. Again, this is for my older kids. When they're really little, it can be really hard. But I feel like that communication piece and helping to educate our kids about this is
Definitely.
really important.
Yeah, we don't have to necessarily hide everything from them.
Mm.
Make
Yeah.
it look like everything needs to like look perfect in a sense. Like if there's an issue going on that we're struggling with, depending on what it is, we can let the kid, ages of the kids, we can let them know like, hey, this is what's going on. And I've done that with my daughter where I felt like I was just very agitated in that. And I'm like, go back to her and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. Just feeling a little frustrated. There's a lot going on, some stress in that. And I'm apologize. It feels like I was being edgy towards you. It wasn't intentionally towards you. You didn't do anything wrong. And that helps create more open communication because if we make mistakes, we should be able to own it to our kids and have a
Absolutely.
conversation with them because that's going to teach them to do the same and not, shove it underneath the rug or make it look like they didn't do anything wrong.
How do we teach our kids to manage their own thermostats? Because just because a certain room has a certain vibration or energy to it doesn't mean you can't change it or you
Right.
can't be a part of changing it. If you walk in and you can tell things are just tense and cranky, it's like, well, how can you be the joy maker in that situation? So how can we like teach them to manage themselves, even if it's just internal and independently, and not allow other people's feelings to affect us. But not only that, but be change makers.
Yeah. So, one of the first things that we can do is start working with our kids, especially at a younger age. And even if they're not at the younger age, you can still do this when they're older because they're going to have a little bit more cognition around it to be able to process it different if they are older versus younger. So, if they're younger, like let's say, I'll use my daughter as an example, like when she was 5, I think it was about the age of 5. And when they start to notice that they're getting like anxious or agitated or overwhelmed, it's like getting them in tune with their own emotions to start understanding, hey, what's going on? What am I feeling? And it can just be using, like simple words or drawings or something for them to communicate. But when we can get them to understand, oh, I'm getting upset. So with my daughter, I think she was actually 3 at the time, 3 or 4, somewhere's in there. I taught her that to do some deep breathing right away. Like, okay, if you're feeling upset, then we do some deep breathing. So I showed her how to do some deep breathing. And it was funny because then I taught her and I was so proud of it. Then she went over to my mother in law's house. And then I don't even know what happened, what the situation was. But my mother in law's like, she was telling me she couldn't breathe. She was getting upset and she couldn't breathe. Well, my mother-in-law didn't know. I taught her how to do deep breathing, and she was referencing, I can't do my deep breathing, but she
Because
was
she's
trying to
yeah.
make grandma know, aware. And grandma's like, what do you mean you can't breathe? But she knew to do it without me being there, which I thought was very cool because she, was understanding and also recognizing when to do it. So I think breathing is a very easy one that we can teach our kids at a younger age that they can take through to adulthood. Because when we do deep breathing and we do it into our stomach, and when our diaphragm expands, it triggers our vagus nerve, which then triggers our calming system, our nervous system to calm down, our parasympathetic system. So if we can teach kids that deep breathing technique at a young age so that they keep reminding them so that they don't forget, because that is an easy tool that they can self-regulate with. The other thing that they can do is if they are feeling upset, they can do the deep breathing, but they can also tap on opposite sides of the body. So in a technique that I use called EMDR, what happens is when you stimulate both sides of the brain, so left, right, left, right, left, right, back and forth, it stimulates the whole brain instead of part of it. So you can get a quicker and faster response to calming down by adding in a little tapping, but it has to be on opposite sides of the body. So like on opposite sides of your legs, on the sides of your legs. And kids can do that where they can just tap back and forth. And they can do it as they're deep breathing. And that can just be an added layer to getting the body to understand it's okay to calm down now.
That
Yeah, I do love these like tips that people can use like starting today, right? When they hear that, like, oh, I've never tried that. I'm going to try that next time. I think also awareness, that's kind of what we're talking about here is just starting a conversation around it and like being aware that this is a real thing. And like, I know there's been times where my husband comes in from work, and he's had a day, and let's just say that the kids have me just exploding in my head. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, I need space, or I have to like talk to them about something that one of them did. There have been times when my husband will come in and his natural tendency, like we're talking about, would be to join me on my level of craziness, right? And I'm like, no, I need you to be the calm right now. It's like fighting that
Yeah.
energy that you're in to be the opposite person because I'm up here and I need you to be down here so I can
Right.
walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I do want to circle back though. You were talking about some things you can do in your home, like you talked about music or aromatherapy. Are there any other things that we can do in our home that really doesn't have to do with us, but will like increase the joy feeling within our home? And a couple things you mentioned animals. So do they tend to have like a good frequency for a home? Are there certain animals that do? How about plants? Like other plants, do they help to increase the energy of a home? I don't know. Walk us through like other home things, arrangement of furniture, anything else we can do to help us out in this whole
Yeah.
conversation.
Plants definitely are good because they're a living being. So they have energy, they vibrate energy out. Animals can, as long as they're also grounded themselves. Some particular animals, like literally I'm talking about the individual ones, can be extremely soothing and grounding. They're meant to be therapy animals. Like they just have a grounded sense. And then some are a little more wired. So they may not necessarily create the calm. So it really does depend on the individual animal.
yeah, makes sense.
In the house, like music, if there's music being played, that can make a huge difference in the energy of the kids. So like if the kids are getting really rambunctious and it's like, okay, we need to calm down, like we need to get centered and we got to bring this down a couple layers here, then just finding some music that's just slower and just more I'm not going to say lullaby wise, but just, it just has a smoother
Maybe like
flow to it.
instrumental.
Yeah. And it can be even sounds like when we're in the womb, there's the whooshing, there's the heart, there's water there. So like if there's ocean sounds, beach waves, things like that, those things can be very soothing. Heartbeats can be very soothing because it takes them back to the womb as long as that was a good experience for them. Lighting can make a difference too. If the house is really dark all the time, it's going to have a heavier energy. So if the kids are feeling kind of like they're cranky and everything, it might be need to get more light into the house. There's a device that you can use, and there's different ones that are out there. The one that I happen to have is the Schumann Resonance B2. And what it is you can set frequencies from 0 and I believe to 1,000, and you can set it to, and it comes with a whole guide as to the different frequencies and everything and what you can set it to. I set it to 7.83, which is earth energy, and I sleep with that at night. It does not produce a sound. So, like, if you
So
have kids that are really wired up, you can just set this device out. It's literally just a square. It's not very big, and it emits the frequency, but there's no sound.
is this
Yeah.
something that you can buy online? Is this just through therapists like you?
Nope. You can go
Okay.
online. There's quite a few different types of devices out there that are like that.
Well, this is really cool. I do appreciate, you've shared some different tips on how we can help our homes feel better, right? And some of it is going to be internal work for ourselves. Some of it is going to be communication because we're all going to have bad days or days that we just need help with controlling this. But then some of it is home stuff. So I appreciate the home tips. I appreciate like the deep breathing. Is there anything else that you can think of that you haven't touched on yet that would really just help us as busy moms to be able to manage this?
Okay. One thing that everybody can do is to hum more.
Mm.
Humming triggers your vagus nerve. So, like deep breathing can trigger your vagus nerve. Humming does the same. Just like the monks do Om, it has such a peaceful, calm, relaxing feeling, very powerful feeling. Humming does the same thing. So if you need a kid to calm down or yourself, you might want to hum, even if you're humming a song. And then I think a big thing is for moms is to just take a second and validate and acknowledge that it's okay for us to get emotional. It's okay for us to, you know, feel like we got it together and then we feel like we don't have it together. Just acknowledge wherever you're at, that's okay. And then what do you need to do from there? Like, what do you need to do that's going to help you? Whether that's just stuff you're doing on your own, or if you're reaching out to someone to help learn how to regulate your system better, to work on the deeper layers that are underneath why some of this stuff can be very triggering. And yeah, there's just different ways to go about it. And it's just, honoring yourself and not feeling guilty for it. Don't feel guilty.
I
And I
love
know
that.
what you were just saying makes me think about there's been times because I feel like especially when you have younger kids, typically you're on the overstimulated. I'd really like more calm in my house
Yep.
side of things. And I do remember a couple times when I've been sick or I lose my voice and I can't raise my voice.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, our house feels so different when I can't raise my voice. So maybe
It's
just
true.
if like everything is overstimulated, just start whispering. Like that's how you're just going to talk for the next
Yeah.
hour because then everybody else is going to have to be
Yep.
quiet to
Mhm.
listen to what you're saying. And it's just
Mhm.
like, I don't know,
Yes.
maybe that would be a tool in the tool belt too for
It
those
is.
just
It
really
is.
stressful moments. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
awesome.
good
Well,
point.
I enjoyed this conversation, Tina. I enjoyed all three of them. Thank you so much for coming on. We do have one other question for you, and that is what would be the future of you and Roots of
Yeah.
Healing?
Yeah. So the future for my business is to continue to work with women who are feeling burnt out, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like you're putting everybody else first. And my goal is to help them get to a place where they feel calm, they feel clarity, they feel confident in themselves, and they've also created a new identity for themselves, no matter what that looks like. Creating and bringing back some things from the past that are coming back into the future and creating a new you, but I want to continue helping women get to a better place so that they can experience the rest of their life in a much happier place.
Love
I
it.
love that. Awesome. Well, we will link to your website in the show notes. Are you on social media as well?
Yes, yeah. It would be my personal Facebook page. That's just Tina Wankey.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we'll put that in the show notes as well with a couple of the other resources that you've shared with us. So thank you, Tina, for coming on. We really enjoyed having you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.